How can you change your life in just 60 days? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to shift your identity and reinvent yourself. Because at certain times in life, we may feel stuck, down, or just need a change. I was in that place last year, but I made myself a commitment to change. Honestly, it took me quite some time to become almost completely different person with a much stronger mind and body. And yes, I did read a lot of books on self-development and growth, but what really helped me to reinvent myself is something completely different. And I'm going to tell you in this video as we'll explore 4 simple habits that can transform your daily routine. From self-care to focusing on personal development and growth, you'll discover how these habits can be the key to unlocking your potential and helping you shine in your everyday life. So if you're ready to step into your dream life, grab a pen and paper, because this is one of those videos, and this practice has changed my life dramatically, and it will 100% change yours too. Step number 1 is to prepare to reinvent yourself. I will actually tell you that this step is the most crucial and most difficult one, because it's really just centered around your internal self. And the truth is that most of us are mentally not ready for success. And if we're talking about how to reinvent ourselves, then that means we also have to talk about how to shift our identity, because you can't reinvent yourself without shifting your identity. We don't think that we can achieve it. We think that it's not possible for us. It all stems from this place, you see. And once you understand the importance of your identity and your self-concept, whatever you want to call it, this is when things will start to kick in. And I'm going to start off with one of the most important things you need to understand and learn from here. Have you ever thought about why people have limiting beliefs? Well, there are a multitude of reasons. Everything from conditioning, from surroundings, family, friends, society, culture, religion, you name it. So we are all programmed to think and believe certain things pretty much from the day we were born. Now, it's probably going to be the most important thing that I say in this entire video, so listen to it carefully. You will never go farther than the limits of the person you see yourself as. Now, let me repeat it for you. You will never go farther than the limits of the person you see yourself as. You will never go farther than the limits of your own identity. Now, what's holding most people back from achieving success are all of those limiting beliefs that just tells you why you cannot or you shouldn't be doing it, why it's not possible for you. But I must say, my life really started to change when I completely shifted my mindset. In other words, your identity determines how high you go in life. Your identity determines how good things are going to get for you, how successful you are, what kind of person you are, how amazing your relationships are, how much money you have, and all that jazz. Your identity determines what's possible for you, but it also determines your limits and where you will be held back. And I can tell you that as soon as I shifted my mindset and I said to myself, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it too. Of course, some people have more obstacles in life, some have less. The problem is a lot of people like to stay in this excuse phase. I can tell you that a lot of people are really good at coming up with multiple excuses. If you are someone who always leads with the reason to why you cannot do something, then I can tell you one thing. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You will never change your life until you change the person you see yourself as. You think that you're bad with money, you are just someone who struggles with money, that's just who you are, and this is your truth. Your identity creates your limits. Your identity shapes your reality. So if you want to reinvent yourself, your identity is either what's going to propel you forward to your dream life or constantly be the thing that's holding you back. And if I ask you, why don't you reinvent yourself and start living your best life? You might start telling me, I can't reinvent myself and start living my best life because I don't have enough money, I have no time, I'm overweight, and meditation doesn't work for me. Really, that list can go on and on. It's like a never-ending loop, you keeping yourself in. The problem is that you can't just wait for things to magically change. If you want things to change, you have to change who you are first, who you see yourself as first, and then your reality will start to reflect that. Do you know what separates winners from the losers? And I'm sorry to be so direct and straightforward. It's just that some people decide, you know what, I'm going to work with my struggles. I'm not going to let them rule my life. I'm going to change. So step one is all about the internal dialogue you have with yourself and your mindset, the monkey mind. Step one is also about knowing that transformation is possible, and that is where you force yourself to start new habits and stick to them. And eventually, if you stick to them long enough and are consistent with your actions over time, eventually your identity will start to shift to match those habits. And over time, eventually, you will become that new person. But hang on a second, and this is the first way, which totally works, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard and feel like a struggle. The second way, in my opinion, is usually faster and easier, and it's what we're going to be talking about in this video. The second way is completely opposite, so listen up. Plan for your dream life, and I mean it. I've seen this over and over again. Those people who don't achieve anything are usually the ones who never go specific enough on their goals. So many people want to step into this new version of themselves and reinvent themselves. They're full of optimism without actually thinking about what that actually means, without actually thinking about what they're gonna have to let go of, without thinking about what they're going to have to let die. There has to be a letting go of everything that doesn't align with your dream self. You have to let go of who you've always been to become someone new, and this is very important. Let me ask you a question. Are you really dreaming big enough? And when I say big, I'm not saying, oh, it has to be big cars, big house, lavish holidays, the billionaire husband, a private jet. No, 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 no. Are you allowing yourself to dream big, to think big? If you're not allowing yourself to think big enough, go back to step number one, to that conversation that we just had, because clearly you kind of still there. And let's face it, just remember your past is no longer relevant. What you've been through, what you've experienced, what you've struggled with is no longer relevant. It has to be released. It has to be let go. Anything that doesn't align with that new future version of yourself, it has to die. If you've been really bad with money for the past, let's say, 10 years of your life, it's no longer relevant. It's no longer a part of your story, and you need to think about it really carefully. And at this point, you're probably like, okay, I get it, but how do I actually do it? Do I just have to pretend to be that person? Do I fake it? I'm going to break it down for you as best I can, and this is something, a way of thinking that made me fully understand it. I want you to think about the best actors and actresses in the world.
I suppose I was looking for something to believe in, worth living for and dying for.
The reason that they're so good in every movie is not because they're playing pretend. They're not pretending to be their character. To shift your identity and to become a new you don't need to pretend. You don't fake it, you embody it. In other words, you're not trying to imitate a person, you internalize that person. And there is such a big difference in energy behind that. We're all so different and we'll have different goals. Make sure you know what you want to do. Make sure you know where you want to go in life. And because if you don't, you know what's going to happen. You're going to go nowhere. You're just going to stay exactly where you are right now because you have no clue what you want in life and where you're heading. So it is so important that at this step we really take a good moment to stop and inquire within ourselves, to ask ourselves what is really going to make me happy. No, like really, what will make me happy? Stop for a moment and reflect on that. At this point you need to just figure out, okay, what is going to hold my transformation back if I don't first attend to this? This is why I want you to take out the rubbish first before we go into the next step, where we're actually going to be adding things in your life. Internal rubbish is best taking out with education, therapy, or any other kind of self-improvement methods that work for you. Reading books really helps a lot, believe me. Now remember, your identity creates your reality. Now, did I double my income just by changing the way I saw myself? No, I changed the way I saw myself, and that changed the way that I naturally showed up in the world. I saw myself as a business owner, so then I started acting like one. Manifesting is a sort of like identity shifting. You embody that person, so you naturally become them. People often become who they tell themselves they are, good or bad, even if it's not true. Over the years, I have really realized that we don't have to do everything at once. What is important for success is to prioritize right, to see what goals are the most urgent, what can wait, and what are like subtasks that will support that goal that I should also do, kind of level up or reinvent or whatever that will support that goal and is high on our priority list. Then the last rubbish you should be taking care of a lot is your external rubbish. We get to it right now. And believe me, there is nothing wrong with taking things slow, and sometimes you have to focus on just taking that next step, moving in the direction that you want to go, rather than that be all and all goal. If you can't believe it, if you can't get on board with this new person, this new identity of yours, if you can't fully embody it, and if you can't feel what this person feels, you won't create it. So focus on that highest step that you can take, that you can still energetically get behind. For example, if you want to increase your income in your business, you want to identify as a wealthy person. If you're making around 1,000 a month in your business right now, but you want to be making 100,000 a month in your business, are you really going to be able to believe and embody that 100,000 identity? I'm not saying you can't, but it's difficult. So start with more feasible goals like 3K, 7 or 10K a month. Start working on your finances, learn how to budget properly, how to invest, and so on. For that, I highly recommend checking out one of my videos right here. So after you've taken out all that rubbish, worked on yourself, made room for the new you to manifest, then you start providing for that new you. We're always in a process of reinventing ourselves. You are never stuck where you are. Honestly, it's a never-ending story, and once you started this journey, there is no end to it. So start by embodying this identity whenever you go somewhere where you don't know anyone, for example, the post office or somewhere else. And this is where you practice becoming your best version of yourself. You practice bringing this lovely lady to life. You eventually feel confident enough to be able to carry this over into your normal life. Now, sometimes when it comes to close friends, relatives, or your spouse, sometimes these people can be the ones that hold us back the most, because they just know us so well. They know who we've always been. Therefore, it's really important to focus on reinventing yourself. And as I mentioned before, something must be let go. Unfortunately, this is the path you need to take and to face the consequences. But eventually, the more consistent you are with this new identity of yours, the more you stick with it. They will see this new you eventually and not the old one. And my advice here would be, if you feel comfortable enough, tell them what you're going through and be open about it. And here we're just adding and adding and adding to our new life. And do you know what's so magical about it? Is that A, everything is possible, B, world is your oyster, and C, actually anything you want is available for you right here. You just have to go out and take it. Life changes can be a huge catalyst for personal growth, but unfortunately it doesn't just have to be positive life changes. You are forced to make big decisions and make changes in your life. Sometimes we are forced into new beginnings when we don't want them, but if it's there, if it's happening, then there's probably some sort of refresh that's needed. Don't waste those beginning moments. Don't waste your time and don't live your life with regret. Now, you see, you first shift your identity and your beliefs about yourself, and then this will naturally shift your actions, your feelings, your thoughts, how you show up in the world, your behavior, and then those actions will further solidify that identity that you have been creating. They will further reinforce it. It's a loop. So when you don't have that evidence yet, which you won't, you have to embody it, feel it, see it in your mind consciously and consistently until that evidence will show up. And once you've made those huge changes in your actual reality, in your actual life, and you reinforce everything that you've been working towards, that's when you solidify the internal work you've been doing. And remember, you won't regret a single bit. Your life will be marvelous and filled with joy and excitement. I hope this video inspired you for a change. Remember, I'm here to support you on your journey. Until next time, stay fabulous. Bye bye.